Hey guys, what's up? Morning coffee. Cheers. Got Kermit the Frog again. Chill it. There you go. Got some free time here. Want to make a video. So I've been having a lot of fun, like pretty much just making random videos about talking about the stuff I use for editing and all that stuff. And while I'm talking about like the stuff that I've been using in the past, whether it's like my monitors, the keyboard, my mouse, and all that stuff, I didn't realize there's so much history in a way that it kind of led me to use what I use in a way. You know, it's kind of, I guess it's good to remind yourself that, you know, you just didn't start with a bunch of good equipment and you didn't start with a lot of good skills, and like, you know, you started somehow, you started somewhere. And like, that's something I guess I want to try to like make sure I get across when making these videos, is that basically the important thing is to get started no matter what you have. You know, if you don't have a camera, you know, use the camera on your smartphone. You don't have that good or fast of a computer, nothing wrong with that. Actually learn how to like understand the limitations that you have with your computers and actually work at that level of the limitation, right? But what that means is like for like the longest time when I was working with my iMac when I started editing, I mean, I did everything in 720p because I wanted to be able to get the most out of my computer and work fast and like be able to render videos out. So it was always like 720p, right? This is before 4K became the norm. Once I started editing with Paul, when I started working with him, he loaned me a computer. And with that, I was able to start, you know, editing in 1080p. You know, I was using the GPU accelerated, you know, technology that from the NVIDIA cards, using it in Premiere Pro and so on. Eventually, we upgraded my computer. Now I'm able to edit, say, like I was having 1070 cards and I had a 6800K Intel CPU. So I was able to edit now in 4K. Eventually, now he upgraded me to what I got now, a 2920X 12-core processor, you know, Threadripper. I got a 2080 Ti, so there's been a lot of improvements over the year. I'll be lying to you if I won't say that, like, you know, definitely me working for someone like Paul, you know, where he has access to this stuff, has helped me out as well. But at the same time, by him helping me, it has helped him. So that being said, Paul received a probing Paul question about like what kind of peripherals do I use to edit and all this stuff, which pretty much started me making these kinds of videos, you know, answering this question, you know, me talking about everything that I use and whatnot. And like me being curious, I did read like a lot of the comments, and like the comments have been pretty positive, you know. It gets people cracked up about, you know, the jokes I made with Paul, you know. We always have fun, you know, making these videos and all that. But there have been like a few, I mean, not many, but there were some comments where some people were pretty defensive of the fact that I used Rocket, the brand, you know, that I'm a fan of it. And, you know, in the video I brought up that I used the Corsair keyboard, the K95 Platinum, right? Like I said, there was not that many, but there were a few people that like were very defensive of this product. They were like, man, what do you use Rocket for? Rocket is shit, yada, yada, and Corsair is better. And there was one comment that literally they wrote a whole fucking book about like why it's better and telling me you can add macros and this and that, and like they're pointing out the limitations of the Rocket Nith. I don't respond to it because like I don't want to like, you know, create a discussion or an argument, or, you know, just if you've been on the internet long enough, you should know that's stupid. There's really no fucking point to do anything like that, right? So mainly what I want to talk about is like having a very defensive perspective of like what you use. Say the people that argue about Macs versus PCs and like, you know, Adobe versus DaVinci Resolve, you know, what's better? You know, there's a lot of people that are just like, yeah, fuck this and yada yada. That's not healthy whatsoever, right? And like I said, when I started editing, I mainly started using Final Cut Pro, right? Because that's what I stuck with and like went to school with, learning that stuff. And then like, you know, I bought a Mac because that's the only thing that works on with Final Cut Pro is a Macintosh, right? I mean, yeah, you can make a Hackintosh, but for the most part, I didn't know anything about that, so I bought a Mac. I learned the Final Cut Pro, to spend those time, the tutorials, you know, so there's a lot of time that got invested into it. So when Final Cut Pro updated itself and it became something completely different, which is like a iMovie and Final Cut Pro, they kind of merged together, you know, that caused a lot of like discomfort for people that were more familiar with the old school Final Cut Pro. So the old Final Cut Pro looked like this. Yeah, pretty much this was the old layout of it, right? So pretty much like the way how you learn to work with it or navigate yourself around Final Cut Pro looked like this, right? When the new Final Cut Pro came around, it kind of looked something like similar to this, and people were like, the fuck is this shit? You know, people didn't like it whatsoever, which was way too different. And like, I guess at the time, like you couldn't import your old Final Cut Pro projects into the new version of it, but you were able to import your old iMovie projects into this new Final Cut Pro. So a lot of people were pissed off about that, right? But the point I'm trying to make is basically, especially something in regards to technology, you kind of have to be able to learn to accept change because it's just constantly being changed whatsoever. Working with Paul, I just seen people argue versus the whole Intel and AMD shit, and I don't know what, and just it don't mean shit. If you were to show a video to someone, to a regular viewer, and you were to ask him, so can you tell if this video was made with Intel or AMD? Do you think they're gonna give a fuck? Most likely, they won't even know what you're talking about. They don't care. Same thing with, hey, was this video used with Final Cut Pro, made with Avid? Was it made with Premiere Pro? They're probably gonna be like, the fuck is that shit? Nobody cares. And that's something I guess I want to try to get across with this video. What's important is how you get it done, what works for you, what you feel comfortable with, something you're able to develop your own style with, right? When I make the switch from Final Cut Pro to Premiere Pro, the reluctance to change was there because that means I had learn to use a new software. However, if Premiere Pro or Adobe was to be, we're going bankrupt, they shut down the servers and all this shit, well, guess what? You're gonna have to learn something new. That's gonna happen. And it's gonna suck, but I'll do it, because like I said, things change and you kind of have to learn to be able to go with the punches and be able to update yourself very fast, because that's how technology is moving. All right, so to end this video, the people that were very defensive about Corsair and they say how AQ is better and you have a limited amount of using profiles and you can assign each key on your keyboard to be a macro. So instead of the O key being the letter O, you can assign a macro to that key, and then pretty much it's a macro right there and stuff like that, and you can switch to multiple profiles. So you can have your regular standard keyboard, and then when you're editing to Premiere Pro, right, you can switch to a different profile that kind of creates a completely different macros and whatnot. And I know like I said, this is what I do. So what I do in my free time when I'm not editing is I look into this kind of stuff. I'm always trying to find ways to improve myself as an editor. I try to find ways to edit faster, shortcuts and this and that. And I did look into this, right? Honestly, the reason why I didn't really get into Corsair software that much is because, so before Corsair had this software, the iQ, it was, they had a software previous to this version called the NewQ, right? NewQ just crashed a startup, and there's plenty of forums where people had a lot of issues with this software, and I was one of them. I didn't go to the forums, but I did spend time trying to understand the software. It didn't work for me that well. It kept overwriting the profiles, right? I tried to store a lot of profiles in my keyboard because it does have some memory capabilities in this keyboard itself, right? So if I was to go to say Taiwan or go to Las Vegas to edit with Paul, I'm able to just connect my keyboard and just everything's built in there, right? But every time I try to do anything with this software, I would just delete the profiles. It didn't really save my macros, and it just stopped using it. When the iQ software came up, I already had that kind of bitter feeling about it, so I didn't mess with it. However, I became pretty familiar using the Rocketnith Swarm, and again, this is just a tool. Everything we use or I use is just a tool, right? So whatever I use, it doesn't matter because I'm picking stuff that works for me, and this has been a progress that has led up to this point, right? And I've been using it, I became familiar with it, and it's something that's kind of now ingrained in my hand. But again, if this company was to go bankrupt for whatever reason, they just don't want to make this product anymore, they decide not to use the software anymore, well, guess what? I'll move on because I have to. I'm not gonna just because I like this product a lot, I'm gonna be like, no, fuck it, I'm not gonna stick to this and that's it. Even though the product is gonna be causing me problems, it's crashing or whatever. So I think I ranted enough, but I'm not specifically speaking to you because like I said, those comments were very few, from the people that posted that stuff, and I'm pretty sure for most of it, they're just kids, right? But don't get too caught up in your own ways. Life is constantly changing. Your favorite product may not exist eventually, so there's really no point in being attached to certain shits. But the one thing you need to hold dear to is your skills and your passion, right? And that's something that I love to do. Is I really like making videos. The amount of people that have reached out for me for advice and all this stuff is something that I never mentioned before, and I'm very happy to be able to make a video like this that reaches out a few people and that may help you out. Be like, oh, okay, cool. I learned something new today, and I don't know. I'm just having a blast. I never really expected to travel for work like I am now. I never really thought that through work I'm able to improve my skills. Through work I didn't think I was able to improve the quality of equipment that I'm using. But that's because I was willing to learn and change and accept and accept my mistakes. If I do something that Paul's not happy with, I have no problem be like, all right, I won't do that again. There's something that Paul says that, hey, you know what? I need this area of the videos to be improved. Hey, no problem. I work on that. You want the videos to get done a little bit, sooner? I find ways to edit faster. No problem. Paul needs me to stay up late to finish a video. No problem. I got to do it. So being flexible, being able to adjust yourself, being able to upgrade yourself and learn to change and go with the flow is definitely a skill that's very important to obtain in life and in work, right? So, all right, I'm gonna end the video here. So, thanks for watching. Peace.